Thank you for watching Jody's Corner, my favorite.
Thank you so much. YouTube was good. It's your boy Jody Joe. Welcome to Jody's Corner. I have a movie review for you guys, and this is a special one because this is something that I've been waiting to talk about for the longest time, and a lot of you guys know exactly what that film is. I've did a couple of trailer reactions to this. It is an unofficial type of sequel to my favorite movie of all time, the greatest movie of all time, Braveheart. This is the movie review for The Outlaw King. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. The Outlaw King. I just got finished watching it on Netflix. The reason why I didn't get to see it in theaters is because it doesn't come out until tomorrow. And I had told myself, there's a live stream tomorrow, and I was like, do I want to wait 10 hours to see this movie when it's going to pop up on my TV at midnight? And here I am at almost 3 a.m. in the morning reviewing this film. I had to watch this shit, so I did. But it's okay because I'm going to check it out again in theaters because that's what I said I was going to do. Experience it on the big screen. But I did see it, and this is going to be a spoiler-free review of The Outlaw King. So I'm gonna tell you guys right now that you guys can check this out on Netflix. It releasing in theaters, select theaters nationwide, select theaters, and Netflix simultaneously. It's one of those Netflix experiments. So once again, I am Jody Joe, and this is Jody's Corner. Welcome, and let's go ahead and get into the movie review for The Outlaw King. So, this was a film that takes place in the 14th century, and to give you some context, this film is leads up right after, and actually up to the point of William Wallace's death. There's some spoiler alerts for Braveheart in case you guys haven't seen it. But it takes place after the rebellion of the great legendary William Wallace, leading the Scots to an epic few battles, Stirling, Falkirk. And after William Wallace was beheaded and dismembered, Sir Robert the Bruce took over and led his Scottish people to freedom. But this is from the perspective of Robert the Bruce and the royal bloodline, because this film takes place after Wallace's death, and they're trying to figure out who's going to be our king. William Wallace was a rebel. He didn't have any royal blood. He was just he was an idea, a symbol of all these things, and all the Scots believed in him. But we need a king. And it came down to these two people, one of them being Robert the Bruce, and another named McConnor, something like that. I forgot his name. And they were squabbling over who was going to be king. A lot of the same things that were involved with Braveheart. So they were the Scots were trying to figure out who was going to be their king, while it missed that the English had won, and they already pledged fealty to Edward the Longshanks, who was played by the same actor who plays Stannis Baratheon in Game of Thrones. That was epic. A lot of Game of Thrones characters in this movie, by the way. So they already pledged fealty to the King of England because he defeated Wallace at Falkirk, I believe. So they already pledged loyalty to them. So they're trying to rebel, and they're trying to still win their own country when they swore on the Bible allegiance and peace and to the King of England. So there's a lot of politics involved in the beginning, and who's going to be the king and who's not the king, and just normal stuff that happens, especially even in this day and age with the Democrats and Republicans and all the other motherfuckers. So that's basically what's going on. It's chaos, and a couple of things trigger, and then that peace treaty just couldn't last. And Chris Pine's character, Robert the Bruce, decided that he needed to go ahead and lead his people to winning Scotland back. So he leads a rebellion in the footsteps of kind of like what William Wallace did. And then the film kind of goes on from there. So I'm gonna give you my idea of how I feel about this film. I'm just gonna go off my feelings. I guess this movie was more historically accurate. A lot of the gripes on Braveheart are that it's not historically accurate. They say the movie is completely false. They twist things up and all timelines. And I'm like, okay, I've always understood that Braveheart wasn't that historically accurate type of film, but it's still great filmmaking nonetheless. It's a movie, you know what I'm saying? You have to add some inaccuracies into film for them to be good, really, 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 really good film. It can't be tit for tat accurate because it gets kind of boring. Because let's keep it 100. Life is boring for the most part. So I understood that. When I watch this film and I see that Robert the Bruce was already on his way to being king and leading his own people while Wallace was kind of still alive. They didn't know he was alive or dead. I loved how they tied in William Wallace into the beginning of this movie, and I wish they did it more. I loved, because in Braveheart they talk about the dismemberment. They sent his body pieces all around England, and you've seen some of those body pieces and the people how they reacted to it. That was one of the rawest scenes in this whole movie, when they showed the arm in the town and all the people in duress, and they started that rebellion. And that's when Robert the Bruce understood, like, okay, these Scots, they want to fight for Wallace. They want to keep that fight alive. Now that Wallace is gone, they're pissed and they want blood. And I'm going to give them that blood, you know? So he was going to lead them. But once they stopped talking about Wallace and it was more about Robert the Bruce and how he's going to gain his, because what made William Wallace and Braveheart epic, it was emotion, character development, it was his love story, it was his patriotism. Now, Robert the Bruce definitely had some patriotism, but him as a character, Chris Pine, the way he played him in this movie, I didn't really gravitate toward him. I didn't really root for him. I didn't fall in love with him. I just didn't have that connection to Robert the Bruce that I wanted to have. Not just wanted to have with William Wallace, because that's rare. Just the regular connection that I would want to have with a regular protagonist. You know what I mean? Just that normal guy's trying to fight to get what he wants. Because this film, it just throws you in it. It doesn't set you up. It doesn't build and simmer and show you that character. It kind of relies on you having previous knowledge of the Robert the Bruce story, of Braveheart, of Scottish and English history. It really does. It gives you a couple of sentences. Oh, this time, this is happening and this is happening. And that just wasn't enough for me. Even though I've seen Braveheart and I was like, okay, I get what's going on, but I could see a regular movie reviewer who haven't seen Braveheart, who just wants to see this film because it's a war movie, they're going to be completely lost, I feel. But even as someone who's seen those movies, when I look at Chris Pine and I hear his terrible Scottish accent, I mean, awful Scottish accent, I say to myself, he wasn't a terrible actor in this movie. I'm going to say that now. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't really good either. Chris Pine was not good in this role. He was, They should have, all of the Scots, you could tell the real Scots that were around him, the supporting characters, like the man that was in Braveheart, who was also the Lord Commander, J.R. Mormont. He's in all the Irish movies, man. He be putting it down for the cause. All of the guys around him, you could tell they were real Scots. Red hair and shit. And they had the accents on point because they were really Scots. And then you got this white dude who has a terrible Scottish accent in the lead role who ain't acting. Because the supporting cast of the real Scots, they had a passion. They had a flair about them. When I seen them on camera, I could see it in their eyes, and they would yell and scream and shake when they screamed. There was love and passion behind the making of this movie for the Scots, and I didn't feel that with Chris Pine. I think they should have cast a Scot to play Robert the Bruce. I think that Chris Pine was miscast in this movie. I don't want to say that he didn't care, but it looked like he just didn't care like that. He was kind of aloof. He had that attitude like there was never no, with William Wallace, that passion that we gotta fight. It's desperate. It's desperation. We gotta get. His speeches were lame. His His accent was lame. He had no real facial expressions that showed dire and emotion, really. Yeah, there was a little bit of despair. I just really didn't like Chris Pine or the Robert the Bruce character in this movie. I just got to keep it 100. He was okay. I just didn't love him. I didn't like him. I wasn't like, yay, come on, you can do. I just didn't have his back like that. And then you try to introduce his daughter. You have this wife that was betrothed to him without even him. You know, they threw the wife at him, and then they're trying to rekindle. They're trying to make this love thing happen, and it just feels rushed. It feels rushed, you know, because they're trying to make that love thing work, and I'm like, nah, I'm not. You know, I'm not. I'm just not. Robert the Bruce and his wife, something happened to them. I'm supposed to feel something. I don't feel it because it's rushed. You rush that whole wife. No, I'm just not digging it. I just wasn't into the whole his family sacrifice dynamic. There was a couple of decisions here with the script that kind of had me thinking like, wow, really? Is that what we're doing? So this happens to him, and now you're going to go back. But if you go back, and there was a couple of action things that I didn't really like. The action set pieces, the war set pieces were good. They're not fantastic. They're not great. And looking back at Braveheart 1995, they're not even close to the action set pieces from Braveheart 1995. And that's a little bit disappointing. You know, you see the guys in the background barely hitting each other. Like, I pay attention to, I look at the whole, the war zone scape. You see the guy over there fighting and they're not really hitting each other. And even the main guy, the sword play was just not good in this. It was a couple of people doing haymaker punches. The guy who's supposed to get punched is sitting there waiting to get the punch, and you can see the transition isn't good. It wasn't a fluid combat motion. You could see the guy waiting to get punched to get knocked down in a war. You don't want to see that type of stuff. You want it to be more fluid than that. A lot of that. It was a lot of that in the action. But overall, this film had really good intentions. It's the intent to tell a historical tale, and I respect it. I respect what they tried to do with this film. I respect what they did with the film. I just wish, like, it's a shame that you guys, that they try to be so historically accurate, and you cast this white American Chris Pine dead center. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, that's unfortunate, man. That's that Hollywood shit. And I was really for Chris Pine, but really, honestly, man, he just really didn't do a good job in this role. I like the supporting guys. Who was Black George or something? What was his name? He was good. The loudmouth rogue character. He was dope, and he had so much passion in his eyes, and his performance was great. But overall, it was satisfying. This film was satisfying. It's definitely worth the watch on Netflix. Is it worth you going to see it in the movie theater? I gotta keep it 100. $15, $16, $17 to $20 to go watch when it's on Netflix. I can't tell you guys that you should do that. I definitely say go check it on Netflix. It's there. You know, for the diehard, you know, for the Scots and Irish, English, or whatever they want to, you know, go check it in a movie theater. I could definitely see if there's some bias or feeling there, then I get it. I'm disappointed, man. I'm disappointed in what I got. It just feel like some of it got kind of lazy, you know. The climax, the end of this, the end scene where the two clash up and they have a duel. That was just weird. I don't think they should have done that the way they did that. It just wasn't believable. There was a lot of, I don't believe this. I'm not buying this type of moments. And that's the price. That's the price you pay when you go too accurate. Then you're left with like, okay, well, the story says this happened, so let's film that. Well, there it is. You know, there's no flair. That's where Hollywood production comes in. That flair, that oomph. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he had a wife. Wife got captured. Had a daughter. All right, put that in there. But where's the Hollywood, the movie flair, the meat that's supposed to get us as viewers watching this true story to fall in love and adapt and enjoy these characters? You know what I mean? So I believe this was I guess it was, I don't know the histories. So my Scottish and my Irish and my English folk who are watching this review will be able to fill it all in. But I love this culture, man. I love Braveheart. I just love rewatching. The best part of this movie was when they were talking about William Wallace, man. And when they showed his body parts in this, I was like, oh my God, that felt so good. And it was raw and I felt something. But then it just went a little downhill after that. You know, him recruiting Scots to, you know, get his cause back, and the 50 to the 500 soldiers versus the, what was it, 3,000. The final battle, the final overall war scene was good until the end. That last part, you guys know what I'm talking about, where like this main guy needs to die, and it just, the way they handle it is just crazy to me, man. And it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But overall, I like that this film had great intentions. It was executed well as far as performances go from the Scottish supporting cast perspective. I didn't like the wife in this movie. She was okay, but I just didn't like her character. I like the actress. She did a good job. But I didn't like how they kind of forced her in this film. I don't like how they handled her. They didn't really handle that character well enough to make us love her, or the daughter, or the relationship between Robert the Bruce, the daughter, and the wife. And it was really fast paced. This movie, it jumped ahead to catch you up, and then it just took off from there. And the next thing you know, it's already over. So yeah, pacing issues a little bit too. But I appreciate and I respect it for what it was. The Outlaw King is a good movie. It just underwhelmed me, and I'm a little bit disappointed in it, especially in that man, Chris Pine, man. Bruh, you got to work on your accents, bro. You did a great German accent in Wonder Woman, but you came here with the Scottish accent, and you fouled it up, bruh. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a grade, and I think the fair grade to give this is a solid B. I enjoyed it. Decent, solid film, especially to be on Netflix. Definitely worth checking out. And I want to say, it's a beautiful looking film. Original scenes shot in Scotland. Natural scenes, lots of wide shots, bright colors, beautiful cinematography, lots of great shots. The director did a competent job. Well, the cinematographer did a good job. The director, you know, all right. So subscribe to the channel for more of the real content. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Jody Joe, and I'm out this thing, man. Deuces.